In your Business Standard article, you write, and I'm going to quote you, there are many ways of forecasting GDP growth rates, especially when more than 3/4 of the data are available. So to get it wrong, and massively wrong as I'm suggesting, is to make an inexcusable mistake. Why do you think the government has made an inexcusable mistake?
Well, that's, what you investigative journalists should find out. I don't have a clue. I've been trying to interpret what the government has been doing and what the RBI has been doing for the last couple of years. And as I've said on this program and in various writings, the only conclusion I come up with, they are living in another planet.
But are they living in another planet? Because that just suggests that they don't know what they're saying or doing. Or is this deliberate denial because they want to boost confidence? If they accept the reality, they'll depress the market, they'll depress the animal spirits of entrepreneurs, and they're trying to avoid doing so, which is why they are in what looks like denial.
Ordinarily, that would be a very good strategy. You want governments to build confidence. This is what most governments around the world are doing. Only our government tries to build confidence by following policies that do just the opposite. So if they were to follow a consistent set of policies that actually improve the economy rather than depress it, then add some confidence measures, I will say fantastic government. But when they do policies that are actually counterproductive to growth, then I think they are just...
I'll come to what you are calling the mismatch between policies and intent in a moment's time. But before I do that, there is something else in your article that I want to quickly bring up. You say, and you accept this in your article, that the CSO, who makes the forecast for the government, have considerably more data than the rest of us. Could it be that the CSO, on whose basis the government still insists we can get 7% growth, knows something that you don't?
Very unlikely, because now that's why I waited until the October to December data was out, because that's where the CSO has a lot more information than we did. Now we have the same amount of information as the CSO has. So I think what has happened is that everybody is making the same mistake, thinking these are normal times and normal statistical practices will yield you the right answer when it's just hopelessly out of date.
What about something else? If growth for 2008-2009 is only going to be between 4 and 5%, and as you said a moment ago, it might actually be under 4.5%, then what's your prediction for the year after that, 2009-2010?
Well, that becomes easier. I think last quarter, that is October to December and January to March, will, in my opinion, form the bottom. And therefore, I am optimistic for the next year that it will be certainly better than this half of the year.
Can I interrupt? Yes. The government's budget figures, when presented by Pranab Mukherjee, suggest that the government is expecting GDP growth of 7% in 2009-2010. Is it right? Is it optimistic? Or is it actually underestimating the potential of the recovery that will take place?
No, actually, it's even funnier than you tell it, Karan. They have estimated nominal GDP growth to be 11% and actual GDP growth, as you said, 7%, which means they're expecting 4% inflation when, believe me, and there's no reason you should, but I think we can start thinking and look at what the rest of the world is doing and experiencing. The major problem facing us and the major problem facing the world is complete lack of inflation. So I think it is absolutely reprehensible that any government in the world will come out with an inflation target, or any central bank in the world, including ours, will come up with an inflation target of 4% in these disinflation times. I do not know what is more ridiculous. Is it the 7% real GDP growth, or is it the 4% inflation?
In fact, pause a moment.
Both.
Pause a moment. If you accept the nominal GDP growth of 11% but question the inflation of 4% and say that inflation could actually be 3 or 2 or even 1%,
yes,
then actual growth goes up by that much to 8 or 9 or even 10%. Now, is that a credible situation?
Just like it's not, and what is worse is that even when all the data are practically out, the government seems to sail along and say we're growing at 7. So, they can imagine any number. It seems the attitude of the government is imagine a number, throw it out, who knows the difference, and we'll bluff our way through.
So that's what the government's doing. It's imagining numbers for the year that's ending March 31, 2009, and it's probably imagining numbers for the year that starts
It's
on 1st
certainly
of April.
imagining numbers for the years afterwards, and now, given the information we have, it is also has imagined numbers in the budget that it just made out.
All right, we could wake up from a dream and find that we're living in a nightmare. Let's take a break. Let's come back and let me ask you, on the basis of what you've said, and if we assume for a moment that your figures are right and the government's wrong, what does that tell us about the government, its attitude to the economy, and the policies it's following to stimulate growth? That's in a moment's time. See you after the break.